So I'm delighted today to have for this Coaching Corner segment, Susan Eick, who is the CEO of Refinery, which is a leadership development organization based in Canada, but does work in the US. Susan also has a unique perspective on the financial services industry, having worked in the US for a number of banks of different sizes over a long career. So I've asked her to weigh in on a couple of questions that I think would be interesting for people who are trying to advance in leadership. So Susan, are you ready for a question about leadership?
Absolutely. Let's go.
So I was listening to a podcast recently, and the woman who was being interviewed said that if men want to get ahead, if men want to assume leadership positions, it's all about competence. And then she added, and if it's a woman, she's got to be competent, no question about that. But she also has to have something else. And I wasn't sure whether that's true or not. There's something else she was alluding to was sort of a softness. What do you make of that?
She's right. And what I've experienced in my past and looking back is, I cut my teeth in my career in the financial services industry in the US. And what I would say is that back in the 80s when I was starting, and I was not as young and confident, as a leader and as an aspiring leader, I did what anybody who is starting out in their careers would do. I observed successful people in my business, and I emulated whatever they did, how they acted, how they expressed themselves, how they dressed. And as we know, in banking, the majority of those individuals were male. And as I progressed in my career, I did become more confident in my own, I guess you would call it, uniqueness as a leader. And I found that the things that I excelled at included things like being curious, showing genuine interest in people who worked with me and worked for me, and being a clear communicator. Yet I still watched the leaders around me, again, mostly male, and noticed that, the further I moved up in the leadership hierarchy, the fewer women I saw. And as a result, the kind of attributes that were being reinforced of the leaders around me were things like technical skills and ability to make decisions and power and the ability to hold people accountable, which all really are absolutely necessary for being a good leader. So the things like that I saw from my male counterparts in terms of good leadership skills were things that were definitely things that I did and I showed myself, but I also recognized that the feedback that I was given for showing those same behaviors that my male counterparts were showing were that I was being too aggressive, I was being too demanding. And it got very confusing for me because I thought, well, shoot, I'm just trying to do what I think is best and marry those technical, those kind of more male dominant, male emulated skills with something that is part of me and part of my own complexion as a leader. So what I understand is that now, and basically growing up 30 years in the financial services industry, it did get confusing. I was able to progress to a certain point. And then I realized after my last job in financial services industry, the feedback I received from my immediate boss at the time before I left was, again, we love the work you do, you develop good relationships with people, but the guys on the executive team just feel that you're too aggressive. That you did amazing work. You did everything that we asked you to do. You made the changes, but they just don't feel like you're very nice. And that really cut me to the core because I thought I had done everything right. I thought I emulated the right behaviors. I thought that I was incorporating who I was as a person with the leadership skills that were necessary to make the mark in the organization. But it wasn't enough. And in retrospect, and when I left that industry, I really vowed to myself I was never going to accept another position until I really understood how the complexity and the complexion of that organization fit with my personal values. And I value the fact that I'm genuine, that I truly love my team members, that I'm supportive, and I'm not in a position of power, at least with my current team, because of my title. People don't support people they don't like, at least not willingly. So I would say if I were mentoring a woman who is, mid-career, and wondering, what does it take to get ahead, to be, have the confidence to understand who you are as a person first, and definitely examine the organization around you and understand what are the qualities that are being reinforced as successful. And then go back to yourself and realize and think about, do I fit with that? Do I want to go that direction? Or is that completely contrary to who I am as a leader? And you have to make a decision, whether you're going to stay that course in that organization or you're going to find something else.
I think that's sound advice. And it certainly is consistent with what I think good leaders have to be doing throughout their professional lives, which is assessing themselves first, clarifying their own values, seeking feedback, which is important and not something that everybody is good at doing, just in the same way we're not always good at receiving feedback. But that kind of coaching advice is really important. As you look into the crystal ball, as you've got daughters who've grown up in a different world than you and I did, what do you think the future is going to be for them?
Well, what I hope and what I hope is true for them is that they are considered for any position or any opportunity based on who they are and the skills that they bring and their values that they bring to the table, and not on their gender. And what I have to report is that, the environment that they are growing up in right now is changing. I mean, it's satisfying to know that the guys who are part of their friend groups, the guys who are part of their social groups and their academic groups, have grown up in a world where their moms were full-time workers. Their moms were in many cases the primary wage earner of the household. So the perspective of these guys is that, women and men, it doesn't matter. It really is about who can get the job done the best. Now, my one daughter, my oldest daughter, is in an architecture program right now, and she recognized that, maybe this isn't the direction I want to head, because what she notices is that all of her instructors, all of her mentors, her peers within that field are all male, and she wonders, well, what is the opportunity for me? Am I going to be limited? Because that's not something I can change. So is this the industry I want to go into and know that I may be a pioneer and have the stress along with that? Or do I want to take a different route where I'm going to be accepted right off the bat?
Interesting. Well, for one, I hope that your daughter finds the field in which she's going to excel. I certainly hope bankers in this country and in Canada find many more opportunities for talented women to advance in their organization. So, Susan, thanks for spending this time with us today.
Thank you.